We are live. I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of Heart to Heart with Bree. And tonight, the Emperor is back, and we will be talking about the World Cup. Please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Why, thank you again for having me, my queen sister. So always happy to be here on your platform talking to your viewers. My name is the Emperor. Like I like to say, when I was born, they didn't know who I was, so they called me Richard Core at birth, but I am yours truly, the Emperor.
Okay, so
I
listen, please
am.
forgive me if I call you Richie sometimes, doing because I'm so used to that. But please continue with your introduction.
No, that is totally fine. I am, by way of my trade, my learning, my academics, an accountant by trade. I'm also a football, whatever you want to call it. People like to call it fan. I like to call it an air condition because I do. I am so much more than a fan. I've played the game. I've coached the game. I've owned my own soccer club, academy for kids during the game. Everything that is about this game is me. I live, eat, breathe, and sleep this game of football.
Yes,
So it
yes.
is a very interesting and exciting moment for me to be here with you in this discussion today.
Oh my gosh, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on because I thought about it and I said, you know what? I've got to do an episode on the World Cup. And I have to tell the viewers, I met the Emperor a few years ago, and it was like, oh my gosh, a connection right away. I remember we were on a Zoom call that day and we spoke for 2 hours speaking about Arsenal. The very first time that we met, kindred spirits is what I call it. I mean, oh my gosh, I will never forget that conversation. You became my little brother that day. So I am just really, really, really excited for us to have this conversation. To the viewers, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to join the conversation. So I had to begin with this question, Emperor: football or soccer?
Listen, it is football. I mean, there
Yes.
are two countries in this whole world that calls it soccer. It's here in the United States, and I believe in Canada they call it soccer as well. But the world over, it is football. The game is played with your feet 99.9% of the time. It is football. You kick a ball with your feet.
Yes, I'd like to welcome Mikey. Go, Mikey. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Every time I hear this beautiful game called soccer, it drives me nuts. So I appreciate your answer very much. To the viewers, what do you call it? Soccer or football? Please share with us. So now my next question is club or country?
This, a lot of people are going to give me stick for this one. But listen, I'm a club guy. And I'm going to be open and honest about that. I'm an Arsenal guy, true and true. Like when Jamaica plays, I was born in Jamaica, so I would like to see Jamaica win. But I mean, when I grew up, Jamaica's football was nothing to write home about. So I grew up supporting Brazil. And we'll get into that later on in the discussion.
Yes.
That will develop. But I was an Arsenal fan long before Jamaica gave me anything to rave, or most of us anything to rave about. Right when we qualified for the World Cup in 1998, I believe that was the first time we
Yes.
really felt like we were making some strides in the football world. So before that, a lot of us had other things to cling on to in terms of supporting a team or a club or a country. So I've long been supporting Arsenal way before that. So for me, and I'm just going to be true to myself, to everybody else who's watching this. Like for me, it's club.
It's club. Okay, and I can appreciate that answer. I'm an Arsenal supporter like yourself. I told you when you came on the screen and I was like, I almost wore my jersey like that one. So, no, I appreciate your answer. To the viewers, who are you? I mean, what's your answer? Club or country? I'd like to know. So now I have to ask you this: the old school game versus the new school game.
This is a discussion my friend Anif and I have all the time. Even
Yes.
yesterday, we were having this discussion as we were watching Brazil versus Egypt warm up game. You know, and I genuinely don't get why people are going at such lengths to make that clear distinction. Because for me, the what's different for the old school for the new school is the pitch, the technology, the laws, the equipment. The game hasn't changed for me, right? The way you play the game is the way you play the game. The technique
Yes.
that you need to play the game is the technique that you need to play the game. The tactical acumens that a coach brings into the game is what a coach brings into the game, and none of that has really changed. It has, I mean, people have improved upon it, yes, but that argument for me is one that I find to be a little bit distracting.
Really?
So the way I learn football, like I'm a student of the game. I play the game, but as I'm playing the game, I'm learning the game, not just
Yes.
how to play the game technically, control the ball, pass the ball, shoot the ball, dribble the ball, tackle for the ball, play the ball with your teammates, so forth and so on. But the laws of the game, the formations, the phases of the game, the phases of play, systems of plays, so that hasn't changed. But there's this big argument about old school versus new school.
But do you think that because think about it, the ball,
Hmm.
the dry fit, the
Hmm.
boots, all of that. What advantage do you think it would have given to the old school guys? I mean, I'm an old school fan myself, and I personally think that I'll always go old school, not just because of my age, but personally, and I don't have the expertise that you have, but I do think the technology and the gear and all of that, there is an advantage to the new school
Oh
players.
well, 100%. I totally agree with you, and which is why I say that, because we need to define what do we mean by old school or new school, because I
Yes.
mean the game itself hasn't changed, right?
Right. And I
As
get
I
that.
said in the
Yes.
outset, right, the conditions under which the game is being played has changed. The
Right.
technology, the equipment, right? Those have definitely changed. The field, right? Back in
Yes.
the times when we played, like even just the other day, I was back in our hometown of Port Antonio playing at Carter Park, and it rained, and the
Yeah.
field wasn't muddy and soggy the way it was
Oh,
when I
wow.
actually played, in high school and my club days on Carter Park, right? So everything in that regard has changed, right? It's much easier, I would say, to play the game because of the conditions that you're playing with or in,
Okay.
right? In terms of the field, in terms of the equipment, the ball, the boots, like the boots we're wearing these days, you don't even feel them on your feet.
Right.
They are light as
Yes.
feather, right? Back in the day when you play and it rained, you feel your boots on your feet because it's heavy.
And what
The
about the
ball
ball
is
when it would
soaking.
get wet? What
It's,
about the
it's
ball when it would get wet? The old
yes, it's soaking, it's heavy, right? You have to really kick it for it to move, right?
Yes.
So in that regard, I will say those guys who played pre this technological change in the sport played under much more difficult circumstances. And
Yes.
the fact that they were able to produce at the level that they produce, given those circumstances, I, along with yourself, my queen sister, will agree that those guys had much more against them and still
Yes.
performed at the level that they did. So I would always hold them up high, in regards to the game overall.
Yeah, and I tell you, dry fit, I mean, dry fit has made such a difference. So, I personally, like I said, I appreciate your point, and I just had to ask that question. Now, if we had a time machine, what would be some of your dream matchups? Old school versus new school.
you know, because there's this, and I'm not trying to take anything away from these people, because we have to, operate in the times that we're in,
Right,
right?
of course.
Like even now, like I go on the field now when I'm playing, and I'm thinking when I could actually really play, like when I could
Yeah.
move, when my agility was up, when I could, stop, turn, shift, move, and I could think about it in my mind. I know what I would like to do, what I'm supposed to do, but physically I cannot, right?
Right,
So I don't want to slight these people who are playing now. I give them a lot of
right.
credit because they're very, very fit. They
Yes.
are, great athletes, and they do really, really well. However, as we just spoke about, when you go back to the guys, like for example, like I've seen people talking about defenders now, and I mean, our Gabriel Magalhaes, right, for Brazil, or Arsenal defender. Like people are saying, like he's one of the best in the world now, and you cannot take that away from him. Like people talk about
Right.
how good he is on the ball, how aggressive he is, but then I think back to a Franz Beckenbauer. Franz Beckenbauer was aggressive. He was good on the ball. And I think he was much better on the ball than, Gabriel Magalhaes. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Gabriel because
Right.
I love him as an Arsenal player, as a Brazilian, right? But when you think about how good those people were on the ball, right, and everything that we talked about with the ball back then, the pitches that the ball were being played on, and how good they were on the ball compared to
Yes.
now, right? Even what they had to deal with in terms of um, the laws of the game was evolved, right? I mean, now you touch a guy and it's a foul. Back
Yes.
then, a guy could step in your chest, and if you get up and
Yes.
keep running, keep going. Who cares? So it's just the facts. So yeah, if I could see, so people talk about now, like even not too distant past R9, right? Our Brazilian Ronaldo versus Cristiano Ronaldo, right? That's not a matchup that's too distant away.
Right.
But there are differences to what R9, the Ronaldo from Brazil, had to face against the Cristiano Ronaldo now having to face. So
Yes.
that would be something that I would like to see, right? People talk about Messi and Pele. Like, I'm not
Let
even
me ask
Pele.
you this, because that was one of the questions I forgot. Pele or Messi? Now, listen, for me, Pele will always be my number one. But in your opinion, Pele or Messi?
Listen, given everything that we've said, I mean, I didn't see Pele play live football,
Okay.
right? Most of my knowledge of Pele was from my learning the game, because as you might notice, my coach, right, who you know very well, all right, Dr. Donald Davis, right, Iman Black, or Don as we call
Yes.
him, he played with Pele at New York
Okay.
Cosmos towards the end of Pele's career. So when he came to coach us at Titchfield High School, most of our analysis of the game was surrounding Pele. He was very proud of
Yes.
his time playing with Pele. So we learned so much about Pele, watch video clips of Pele in our learning of the game. And like I said earlier, before Jamaica was really a nation to support in football, it was
Yes.
Brazil that I supported. So most of my knowledge of Pele playing was not watching Pele play a game the way I watched, Ronaldo or Messi or
Right.
Cristiano Ronaldo play the game. But as a student of the game, right, and seeing what Pele had to endure, right, like they literally had to bring a red card in the game, right, because of the way people used to
Yeah.
kick the guy because they couldn't handle him any other way, right? It is. I don't think it's fair to even compare the two because
Okay.
of the generational difference, one, and because of all the other differences that we have been talking about since we started here, in terms of
Yes.
even the technology, the pitch, the rules over the different times. And when you look at what Pele was still able to produce, given all of those conditions,
Yes.
um, I think it's really unfair to judge them here. For me, I would even feel a bit hard done to be comparing Messi to even Maradona, to be honest, right?
Okay.
And I think that comparison is even a little bit closer and more
Okay.
apt. Um, but I still think that is even hard for me to put that together to say apples to apples, because
Yes.
if we look at the Maradona team that won the 1986 World Cup, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody on that team of note other than Maradona. Maybe Borchaga, maybe, right?
Yes.
Uh, you know, and when you look at, you could probably say Carlos Tapia, maybe, right? But there's not household names, not people who have gone on and have the type of careers like the supporting cast that Messi has had over, his 4 World Cups, right? And it took him just the last one to be able to secure it when everybody was like, okay, let's put hands on heart and everything into helping this guy to win the World Cup, right? And he had a super great supporting cast, right? When you had
Yes.
people like Rodrigo De Paul, when you had people like Lautaro Martinez, you had people like Julian Alvarez, like he had a great team around him. So it's difficult to even compare them, but a time machine, yeah, I'd put them back together. Let them play.
Well, I tell you, a time machine, I'm thinking I will be 63 next month. I was 3 years old when England won the World Cup. And I'm thinking, when Bobby Moore raised that cup, did he would he have thought in a million years that we would not win another cup? Come 60 years later, here we are still crying for a cup. And I was saying to myself, man, do we need to bring back Bobby Moore and Bobby Charlton and Jack Charlton? Do we need to bring them back to England? I mean, oh my gosh, it's rough, but a time machine would be great. That's for sure.
It is certainly difficult, and this one is even going to be more difficult because the teams have expanded.
Yes,
right? We're going to have even more teams now, right? You talk about England, right?
Yeah.
Think of Uruguay. Uruguay won the first World Cup in 1930.
Yeah.
And they won it again in 1938.
Yes.
Right. And have not come anywhere close since.
Wow.
So it gets more difficult.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not like, and I have to ask you this. The women's game, and I have to throw in a question about the women's game. Mm-hmm. How amazing is the women's game? I mean, I think the women, they play in a very high level. I think it's very competitive. I'm so proud of Jamaica. I remember the first World Cup that Jamaica played in, and I remember crying because I'm like, this is the first time Jamaica's national anthem has been played for a women's game in the World Cup. And I knew they weren't contenders the first time around, but when they came back to that second World Cup, how amazing were they? I'd like you to comment on the women's game.
Listen, we talked earlier about my being an Arsenal fan, and it's not just an Arsenal men's team fan, right? Like, my friends give me a stick all the time, like, that's a youth game, that's a women's game, so it's a football.
That's right, it's a game, right?
Let's give a minute to talk about our own Khadija Bunny Shaw.
Oh my gosh, love her.
Let me tell you, I exchange messages with my brothers and my close friends all the time when I seen the images, the news reports of Khadija Bunny Shaw, our own young queen, born and raised in Jamaica, taking the world by storm.
Yes.
The best woman player in the world.
Yes.
Year on year on year.
Yes.
I was saying to my niece the other day, I was talking to her, my brother out on the car, and she's playing football as well. I'm like, do you see what Bunny Shaw is doing? And admitted that she has not. I'm like, look, if you love this game the way you profess to love this game, if you want to play this game the way you say you want to play this game, this is the benchmark. Yes. This is what is available to you. These are the heights you could scale. Like, this girl is being paid millions now.
Yes.
In pounds.
She just renewed her contract. I mean,
and what she's good at.
Yes.
Right. So I would like to just acknowledge that.
Yes.
I would like to just, have our brothers and sisters and those in leadership of our JFF see that, acknowledge that, and use it for what it's worth to not just Khadija, but for all the little boys and girls playing football in Jamaica, to be able to put a face to a standard to say, look, this is where I could actually reach playing the game I love. And you should walk into every school in Jamaica and Khadija Shaw lines the walls.
She
should be on the exercise books.
That's the truth.
She should be on the buses, all the billboards. She is a star.
Yes, she is.
And she should be a star in our own country.
Yes, she is. And I totally agree with you on that. And I am so looking forward to the next Women's World Cup, because I'm telling you, the last Women's World Cup was it blew my mind. And I'm so looking forward to the next one. So thank you for that answer, because honestly, Khadija is it. I am so proud of her. Now, my next question, Brazil. And I know Jamaica has a love affair with Brazil. Brazil is okay. I like Brazil because of Pele, but I will always be an England supporter. But I have to ask you this. Brazil, 58, 62, 70, 94, 2002. Do you have a favorite squad? And what made these teams stand out?
As I said, I'm a student of the game, and
Yes.
Brazil is the country that the way England is dear to your heart,
Yes.
for different reasons, but Brazil is that to me. And this iteration of me, this physical specimen of me, was not around, for 58, 62, or 70. But as a student of the game, I've done my
Thanks to
research. I've,
YouTube and YouTube, we can
right,
watch a lot of the old footage on YouTube, right?
right, and like I said, as a person who grew up learning the game through the eyes of Pele, if you will, right? 1958 was very special, and and I'm going to say this because when I think about football now and the way football is Europeanized, and I'm sorry because you're an England supporter, right? I know you were born in England, but football is Europeanized now, and a lot
Yes.
of the football in the world is being played through the European lens. And I think that's down to the marketing of the football, through the European lens, because the Premier League, which we all love and support, right? It's one of the biggest brands of football,
Yes.
and especially with Pep Guardiola, who is a football aficionado, right? If
Yes.
that's the right word. Um, and him spending 10 years in England, I think just pull the world's eyes to European football more than anything else, if never before. So when you find even our African countries, like us as Jamaicans, right? Even a lot of the Brazilians, right? There's a thing I'm watching now, big on Sky Sports, talking about the how Brazilians change the Premier League, right? So it's all about everything becomes so Eurocentric right now. And it took me back to 58 from what I remember of 58 and what I've seen of the 58 World Cup when they were in Sweden, and everybody was giving Brazil stick for not being able to play like the Europeans because they were just a bunch of individuals. And the coach, I remember I was watching, they built a little documentary about this. And I remember the coach saying to the guys the one night, he was just watching them just free flowing, relaxing, enjoying themselves amongst each other. And they're just playing the ball freely without, any restrictions. And he called a meeting and he said to them, look, forget everything else that we practice. Just go back to the Jungle Bonito. Just play the beautiful game the way you know how to. And we all know what happened in 1958.
Yes.
Brazil came home with the trophy, right? So, I mean, and the 1970s Brazil team, like a lot of people rave about that team, right? So there's some people who call that the greatest team in history, right?
Yes.
And, there's not much argument against that. But, 1994, seeing the Brazilian team play in 1994, for me, that was the first time I immersed myself into a Brazil team winning the World Cup. So all special memory. And then there was those twin forwards of Romario and Bebito, right? That just dovetailed so well. That's the time when I was coming into my own self as a young football player as well.
Yes.
And then the 2002 team, with the likes of Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, that's flair just coming to the fore, just excites the hell out of you, So
Yeah.
they all hold special memories, I will say, but that 58 team just showing the world that we can do what we do to the best
Yes.
of our abilities, and we will be victorious. And I'm referencing that because I've seen that trend now where everybody's trying to be Eurocentric, where everybody's
Yes.
trying to play the game the way the Europeans play the game, and playing against their natural abilities, their innate abilities. That's the way I look at it. So that's why that 58 reference is very poignant for me at this point, because I feel like everybody's trending away from themselves and trying to be
Yes.
so Eurocentric in the way they play.
And I would agree with you on that. And wasn't Pele like 17 years old
He
on
was.
that? Is
Yep.
how amazing is that?
Oh
Now,
yeah.
is he the youngest World Cup winner?
Yes, I believe he's the youngest World Cup winner to date.
Okay.
And what's so as you mentioned that, and we talk about the rule changes. Again, I'm watching this on a documentary, so yeah, I wasn't
Yes.
there to verify it myself, but there was a news conference with the Sweden team, and they were asking about Pele because he was a known quantity at this time,
Right.
right? He was that good, he was that skilled as a young boy.
Yes.
And they did ask the question, like, how are you going to deal with the young phenom, Edson Arantes do Nascimento? And it's like, oh, we have a plan. And it's like, what's your plan? And they go, we're just going to kick him.
Wow.
Literally, we are just going to kick him. And kick him they did.
Mm.
They did kick him, and kick him real hard, right? So that was allowed back then. That was allowed.
Oh
So
my
I mean,
goodness.
now you can't even brush against Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. And I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I'm
No, no,
just
no.
saying,
But it's,
the game
but you know,
was
when I
played
think
then.
back, one of the things that annoys me with this game now, it's the flopping. You know, you just barely walk by a play and he's down on the ground. You know,
Yep.
and to
Yep.
me, like, where is your self-respect, dude? You know.
Yep. 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 So that is what that is what I mean, and that's why, these teams and moments and eras hold such a special place in my heart,
Yes.
simply because of what they really were up against, compared
Yes.
to now.
I definitely agree. So you would say that then the greatest World Cup team of all time would be one of the Brazilian squads?
Oh yeah, I mean that 1970s team, that just it's the rave of so many people. I've seen so many people written about that team. Like, I've
Yeah.
watched so many of those games. I mean, unfortunately for me, I wasn't around in this
Right.
current iteration of me to actually see that team play live. But again, just like, for example, like, I know who Jarzinho was before I
Yes.
see Jarzinho play for Brazil. I know who Rivellino was before I see Rivellino play for, because people in my hometown, we call people in my hometown by these names. There's a
Yes.
Rivellino in Port Antonio.
Yes.
There's a Jarzinho in Port Antonio. Like, we know who these people are, and I've
Yes.
never seen them actually play until I became a student of the game, start learning how to play the game, watching the game, and going back and seeing these players actually play, to actually acknowledge the greatness that these football players exude during those times. And as a team, I've yet to see a team eclipse that team of 1970. But
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say though that
Mhm.
now, when I look at the even the current Brazil team, to be honest, and the current France team, there are some teams that are really, if they click in the right moment
Yes.
and flow the way the individual parts are capable of flowing, we will see some really, really nice
Ooh.
football.
I'm excited and really looking forward to it. Now, I want to hear you say, who do you think is the greatest player of all time?
I mean, I think it's abundantly clear already from the way this discussion has developed that, in my eyes, that is Edson Arantes do Nascimento, aka Pele.
Okay.
And again, we've had a lot of great players during his time, since his time, and
Yes.
even now. And a lot of people go on these days about Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi and Diego Maradona. And it's not, in my view and the way I speak about Pele, it's not a slight against any of those guys and
Right.
their
Right.
abilities
I
and what
agree.
they've produced. But like I said, in the beginning of our discussion, the things Pele had to play against and with, compared to these players now, like, for example, as we just talked about, if brush against Messi or Ronaldo, and not just Messi or Ronaldo, but any player,
Yeah.
I mean, with any amount of force or lack thereof, it's considered a foul, a
Yeah.
yellow
It's
card, or a
true.
red card.
It's true.
I mean, the amount of penalty kicks that these guys get these days,
It's
free
true.
kicks, I mean, Pele didn't get those, and he still managed to produce at the level that he
Yes.
did produce, score the
Yes.
amount of goals that he did score, won 3 World Cups, mind you.
Yeah.
So
How
I mean,
amazing is that?
people make the argument that a lot of Pele's goals were in friendly games, and let's not take away from the fact that that is true. That
Hmm.
is true. However, they are no less goals than the goals that Messi and Ronaldo are scoring or have scored. Because let's be honest about it. The government of Brazil declared Pele a national treasure,
Yeah.
which meant he couldn't leave the country, right? He couldn't play outside of Brazil, right?
Yeah.
On Towards the end of his career, he moved to the U.S. to play with the New York Cosmos. But in his heyday, most of the games that he played outside of Brazil were arranged games, which is what they're calling these friendly
Yes.
games, right? But there were games against Real Madrid, there were games against AC Milan, the same
Right.
teams that are now winning the Champions League and are competitive in the Champions League, right?
Yes.
These same competitive teams, Santos played against, with crowds eclipsing the crowds that are now entering
Yeah.
these stadiums to watch Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi play. And they were being played against very competitive players who
Yes.
had the ability to kick him and do things to him that you can't do to these guys now with the type of equipment that are tailor-made for these guys now. And again, I'm not trying to take away from these guys, but I
Yes.
don't like when it's being taken away from Pele in the sense that,
No,
oh, it's only this
I
or it's only that.
totally, I
No,
agree.
they are real competitive, recognized games. Yes, it's not in the Brazilian league, but he couldn't have gotten a transfer to Europe. And if he could have, he would have.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine that?
Right?
Can you even imagine that? I'd like to welcome Maxine. Maxine, thank you so much for tuning in. Can you just imagine that? You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I remember as a child, Pele, I mean, oh my goodness, the excitement that he brought to the game, it was just amazing. And I tell you, it's something to see every 4 years the improvement. You know, the World Cup becomes more exciting every time it comes around. Now, I have to ask you about this first round. Who do you think will make it on to the next round? Give me some, I want to hear some of your predictions.
I am going to go group by group and give you my
Yes,
predictions, but
please do that.
I,
Please
I'm
do that.
I
Please
am
do.
going to be 100% honest with you right here. A lot of this is going to be based on emotions because you're right. We always think of the two best teams based on history or whatnot, or some kind of connection that we have to these teams.
Yes.
But I will say to your point, like, because everybody grows so much, everybody evolves so much, everybody
Yes.
becomes so much better at what they do. It's really just based on your emotions a lot of times. So group A as Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czechia in the group. Right now, I'm going with Mexico being they're playing at home, right,
Yes.
and they're going to have that home support behind them. So I'm tipping Mexico to top that group.
Okay.
Excuse me, with South Africa becoming the runner-up in that group. And again, I'm saying that simply because of my African lineage, of my
Yes.
African heritage, of my, but I do believe South Korea will cause some amount of consternation for the teams in that group as well.
Okay.
Moving on to Group B, we have Canada, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Qatar, and Switzerland. And like Mexico, I think Canada will ride on the tide of the home support, and
Okay.
I expect them to top that group as well. And I think it might be a toss between Switzerland and Bosnia for the second and third spot. I am tipping
Okay.
Switzerland to come out of that group second. Group C has Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. I expect Brazil to top that group
Okay.
with Morocco, being the second place team. And I expect a lot from Morocco in this World Cup.
Morocco was
Morocco's,
amazing in the last World Cup.
they have been building. They have been building from the base up for quite some time, and I expect a lot from them in this World Cup.
Okay.
In Group D, we have USA, Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. And like Canada and Mexico, USA have the home advantage, and I expect them to top that group.
Okay.
Over Turkey, with Paraguay rounding out the third place spot in that group.
Okay.
In Group E, there's Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. Now, I would like to say Germany because of tradition,
Yes.
but I saw the Ivory Coast played against France a couple of days ago, and I'm topping. I'm taking Ivory Coast to win that group over Germany,
Okay.
with Ecuador coming third. Unfortunately, I think Curacao might have a baptism of fire in this World Cup.
Mikey Go is saying he thinks that Morocco, he said, I think they will top Brazil.
I would not be mad at that. I would not be mad at that at all. But Brazil are my team. But I mean, Morocco is an African country.
We're gonna make note of that. We're gonna make note of that because Richie, I'm asking you to come back for the second round, and I want to go back and address some of these predictions, and let's see how what came through.
Oh, definitely, most
Okay.
definitely. In Group F, we have the Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. Now, this is a tough group. This is a tough group. Based on tradition, you like to say the Netherlands. I saw them play I saw them. I'm sorry, excuse me. Let
Okay,
me
it's
just
okay.
put this phone on mute here.
No problem.
I saw the Netherlands play a warm up game recently, and yeah, they're not clicking the way that the Netherlands used to click. You know, they're not the
Okay.
Johan Cruyff, Netherlands at all. But I still expect them to come out of the group
Okay.
alongside Japan, with
Okay.
Sweden probably finishing third. And I hate to say it, Tunisia might not make it out of that group at all.
Okay.
In Group G with Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. Um, Again, I watched Belgium play their warm up game the other day, and they are firing.
Okay.
Belgium are firing people even from the World Cup before. They're saying it's the golden generation of the Belgian team, but they keep reproducing,
Okay.
and they're going to come out of that group on top over Egypt, in my estimation. In Group H, you have Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. I think Spain's going to be way too much for the other teams in that group,
Okay.
so I think they'll top that group easily, with Uruguay coming second to Saudi Arabia, being third in that group.
Okay.
And in Group I, with France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway, that France team, I look at that France team and I see my African brothers. I'm like, wow, these guys, they made it to the final last World Cup, and it was such a showpiece between themselves and Argentina.
Yeah.
And I actually believe that France team has become stronger than the
Yes.
France team from the last World Cup. And I expect them to win that group easily over Senegal.
Okay.
I'm sad for our Norway team that's captained by our own Martin Odegaard, but
Okay.
sorry, Norway. That's going to be France and Senegal coming out of that group. There are some third place teams who will progress. So
Okay.
I think maybe eight at the best third place teams will progress. So there's some
Okay.
hope for teams who
Okay.
do come in third in the groups. And in Group J, you have Argentina, Algeria. This is a group of A's. You have Argentina, Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. Right? Argentina. While I don't think like France, they got stronger since the
Okay.
last World Cup. I don't think they got weaker either, if I'm to be
Okay.
honest. Right? But
Okay.
for me, I think France, got a lot stronger than they were for the last World Cup. But Argentina will top that group easily over Algeria, and Austria to finish third.
Okay.
And in Group K, you have Portugal, Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. Portugal will top that group. I saw Portugal played against who they were playing against yesterday. They played and they won the game 2-0 too. How did I forget the opponents already? But they were playing really good football. They were
Okay.
playing really good football, and they didn't have their full squad because most of these warm-up games are still giving rest time to people who played longer into their domestic season.
Okay.
So, I expect Portugal to top that group over Colombia. Uzbekistan and Congo. Congo is a really poor team. I'm still at a loss to see how that team even progressed to the World Cup over Jamaica in that playoff game.
Okay.
So they will come in for a baptism of fire in that group. And in Group L, which you're England and Croatia, Ghana,
Yeah.
and Panama, that is also a very tough group. That is a
Yes.
tough group. But I do expect England to top that group, right?
Okay.
After all, they got 4 Arsenal players in there, right? Why would they?
Yes.
Right? And I am, out of my affection for Ghana, tipping them for second, but it's going to be tough against a Croatia team. It's an aged Croatia team, but it's an experienced Croatia team, and I watched them play a practice game 2 days ago, and they have a staying power that is admirable. They don't have a lot of young players. Their team hasn't evolved much. I mean, they still have Luka Modric and Ivan Perisic and these old guys playing, but they're playing really well, and they play well together as a group. So
Yes.
I think they could make it tough for a lot of opponents, but I do expect England and I hope Ghana to come out of that group 1-2.
Okay. I mean, it's going to be exciting. I'd like to welcome Mommy. Mommy, thank you so much for tuning in. I am really and truly looking forward to this. Now, do you expect any surprises or upsets in the first round?
Oh yeah, they're definitely can be as always. If we remember in the 1998 World Cup, with Senegal and France, and they so happen to be in the same group again.
Yes.
I mean, not a lot of people expected Senegal to, run out on France the way they did. Um, so there's always that possibility that there will be some upset in the first round. And I'm looking at, even though I say a team like Curacao is going to be coming in for a baptism of fire, right?
Yes.
So did Jamaica when we first went into the World Cup in 1998, right? But we managed to beat Japan, even though it was
Yes.
Japan's first World Cup as well.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't think too many people saw that coming, right? But we did manage to beat Japan. Curacao is being coached by Dick Advocat, who is an experienced coach who's coached at the World Cup before with the Netherlands, right? He's really very experienced, and they have a lot of experienced Dutch players, right, who played
Yeah.
for the Netherlands youth teams who are now turning out for Curacao. So I would not be surprised if they were to cause a few problems in that group. So I mean, look, when you go into a tournament, when you go into the World Cup, when you pull your national team jersey on, you you have a different feeling.
Yes.
You scale new heights, and it just needs to click for you in the right moments. And
Yes.
I'm sure there will be a few surprises.
I would tell you the last World Cup, Morocco was probably one of the biggest surprises for me. And, in fact, we were in this bet and Morocco messed me up with my $100 because,
Oh,
my brother and I ended up, because, and he even said, like, wow, I mean, that was what got me, Morocco. And, he was like, we did not see that coming. So that was one of the surprises for me. So I'm looking forward to see what happens in the first round. Now, let's talk about what makes the World Cup so special.
well, I mean, the World Cup means different things to different people, and going back to your bet with Morocco. I mean, if you were a student of the game, well, I mean, let me not say it like that because
No, 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 but I'm not a student of the game as you are. So I take no offense to that.
so Morocco has been building something special for well over a decade now.
Okay.
And if you follow the prospects of their youth teams, right, through the youth tournaments to the Olympics, right, it's no surprise what they did in the World Cup,
Okay.
right? And they are going to similarly be a force to be reckoned with in this World Cup, right?
Okay.
And for some years to come. It's like when these countries, like you've seen Belgium took that step back a couple of decades ago, and then they produced what people are now calling the golden generation, right? From going back and revamping their whole system from the grassroots up, right? Germany did it, a while back as well. So when these federations make these decisions and implement them from the grassroots down, where it's like, look, I don't care about what the results are. I want to develop a certain culture. We want to put certain facilities in place. We want the people to learn how to play the game this way. So we're going to teach the coaches how to teach the game this way, so that they could teach the kids how to play the game this way, and we'll master how to play the game this way. You will reap success over time.
Yes.
And this is what I meant when I talk about the Europeanization of the game, where we're just playing against our natural selves, right? Everybody want to be European, but you don't have the European style. You don't have the European
Right.
discipline. You're not made up that way. So you're playing against your own self. But in saying that, the World Cup is special because when you think about now, even with this World Cup starting in a couple of days, and the geopolitical landscape that this world is traversing right now. I mean, this is just a let loose for a lot of people, right?
Yes.
So when you look at it from that standpoint, the World Cup means that to some people, right?
Yes.
When you look at it for fans who, wow, I'm finally going to be able to go to a World Cup game. World Cup is that to some people. When you
Yes.
look at it from the economics of certain countries, like there is a lot of money to be made from playing in the World Cup, not just from the
Yes.
prize monies that FIFA is giving out, but from the exposure that your
Yes.
country gets, right? From the possible contracts that your players and coaches might pick up, right, for playing at the World Cup. So it's a lot, right? It's one of the most singular, powerful event that happens in our universe every 4 years, and it means
Yes.
a lot to different people
Yeah.
because there is something for everybody, from the marketers, the advertisers, and this is just corporate. We're not even talking about on the field just yet,
Right. Isn't that
right?
that
All right, even from a governmental standpoint, a political standpoint, an economic standpoint, right? And we didn't even get to the football yet. So it's a very very global phenomenon that has tremendous impact for so many sectors, so many people in many different ways.
let's
But
let's
it
let's
also
let's
brings
talk.
us all together.
Yeah.
More importantly, it brings us all together.
It truly does, and that's the beautiful thing about the beautiful game. I will say that. Now let's talk about emotions. Why they so high when you think about the highs of each victory and then the agony of defeat. Personally, I am one of those fans. I cry every time England doesn't progress to that final. I cry every single time. I feel it. I mean, and I know a lot of people don't get that kind of emotion from a game, but it's like I my brother has said it to me so many times. I just want to see an Englishman raise that cup. And that is just how I feel. And it's like every time that it doesn't happen, it's heartbreaking. So I'd like you to address that, the highs and the lows.
And I mean, there are 48 teams that are going to be taking part in this World Cup, right?
Wow.
So there are going to be inhabitants of 47 countries and their supporters who are going to be crying. We're going to be heartbroken. So there are so many more heartbreaks than there are,
Yes.
celebrations for the World Cup. But when you think about it, like we were watching our beloved Arsenal, even though we just won the Premier League, playing
Yes.
against, PSG in the Champions League final, and with the scores locked at 1-1 and going into penalty, we were all hype and like, yes, we're going
Yeah.
to, win this. And it came to a moment of kicking penalties against each other,
Yeah.
and then came the heartbreak, right? So it is that thing that takes you on that roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Right? Like even if you're winning it, it's almost like you fear losing it. So
Yeah.
your
It's
high is not even being enjoyed the way it is supposed to be
it's
enjoyed, right?
true.
Because you're worried
It's
about,
true.
right?
It's true.
But this World Cup takes on a lot for a lot of people. I remember, I think back in 1994 when the World Cup was last hosted here in the US, there was one guy from Brazil who sat out on a motorcycle ride all the way to make it here just in time for the final. Like, how did he even know Brazil was going to be in the final? Like, he's taking a
Right.
chance on that.
Right.
Right? I remember in that same 1994 World Cup when um, forgot his when Escobar unfortunately had a own goal against the United
Oh
States
gosh, that
for
I
Colombia,
will never
right?
forget that.
He lost his life
Yeah,
for.
when they talked about it on the radio, I'll never forget. And my sister and I were saying, we hope they don't kill that poor guy.
Yeah.
And then they ended up killing him. It's
All right.
it's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot. There's a lot that goes into people's emotions for
Yeah.
this. Like you talk about a friendly bet with your brother. You know, that Morocco messed up for you. A lot of people, those bets aren't quite so friendly.
No, it's
I
it's
mean,
it's it, it's true. And to me, if you're going to bed, and I'm not telling people to go out and bet, but it's like, don't bet your rent money, don't bet your mortgage, don't bet your life savings. That's crazy,
yeah,
but people will do that.
that's right. And when we talk about the marketing piece of it, right? If you look at football these days and most sporting events, a lot of the supporters, sponsors are betting companies,
Yeah.
right? So they are encouraging you to anyway,
Yeah.
marketing to you to do that anyway. So there's a lot that's riding on this, and a lot that's riding on it, not from your own accord, but from what you've been told to, from what's been
Yes,
marketed to you.
it's true.
So the highs and lows, they're always going to be there. You know, for me, I've gotten to the space where I just want to enjoy a beautiful game. Like
Yes.
I want to see my team win, but more importantly, I just want to see a beautiful game of football, and I'm good with that.
And you know what? I have to agree with you on that, because it is so amazing, when you see a beautiful goal, when you see two teams that have put everything out there, you know, and the loser of that game has nothing to be ashamed of, but the heartache is still there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an amazing time now. I'd like us to talk about the build up to the World Cup, the hopes and dreams. You know, I know the Reggae Boys, I have felt for them. It's, you know, it's they've had a hard time of it. But you know, the women, I just think they've done so much to elevate the game. But I'd like you to address the build up and the highs and the lows, that journey of trying to make it to the World Cup.
You know, I thank you for that opportunity, but you know, and I appreciate the way you mentioned the women's approach. You know, from the Jamaican standpoint as opposed to the Reggae Boys standpoint. And I think we can learn something from the women's approach. I think we can learn
Yes.
something from the way we talk about how Morocco has been building over the
Yes.
years, and how Belgium had built, and how France, Germany had built. I think we're a little bit too spontaneous from the Reggae Boys perspective. Like, okay, it's time for World Cup qualifiers. Let's put something in place. I don't know that there is much, you know, when we think about it. In 1998, we qualified for the World Cup, the
Yes.
men's World Cup. In 1999, we qualified for the under-17 World Cup in New Zealand. In 2001, we qualified for the under-20 World Cup in Argentina. Then we qualified for the Women's World Cup. There is nothing that should stop that continuity, right?
There's a
That should just
question
be.
here. There's a question here. Mikey is asking, can Speed lead the Jamaican national team to World Cup quality?
Listen, you know, we would all like to think so because he's from our environs. He's a Titchfield old boy, and you know, we all love him. But he did a good job in his previous role, and I think, from me speaking from my personal perspective, he should remain in his previous role and appoint a coach who's qualified to lead the nation. I don't think he should be. He's been all things, and you can't be all
Yeah.
things. There needs to be oversight because there's nobody checking him, right? There's nobody he's got to answer to, right? And to the point I was making earlier about the build-up, and not just the build-up to the World Cup, but you have to build up to something. You have to have something that is your target. For example, we have a lot of British-born players,
Yes.
right, and US-born players and Canadian-born players, and you know, players born all over the world to Jamaican parents. We can't only approach those people when it is time to play for the World Cup,
Right.
right? Those
True.
people have to feel Jamaican and feel wanted and known in Jamaica all the time. That is my thing.
No, I agree with you on that. I
Just the
definitely.
way we're talking about Bunny Shaw, right? These people, we should engage them all the time. Once we realize that they have the ability and the potential to play for the country, we should engage them. Engage them, make them feel Jamaican, make them know that we know you are eligible to play for the country. We would like you to play for the country, and stay engaged with them. Bring them into our schools, let them talk to our kids, you know, bring them to Jamaica so they could see what Jamaican life is like in Jamaica. You know, go and visit them in their spaces. Don't just engage them when you need them to come and play, right?
I,
But also,
I agree, because where will the cohesiveness come from too if they're just coming in the last minute? How long are these guys playing together, training together? And you know, I have to ask you this. Your brother has an academy in Jamaica, right? I know he's given it his all, but I know for these academies, it has to be tight. You know, how many families can afford to put their kids through these programs? But what difference would it make if there was the financial support for the academies like what your brother is running? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
well, and I thank you for that question again, because like right now as we speak, he's having his annual Genesis Cup tournament today, started yesterday through today, and it's an interesting point because, again, if we go back to what we talked about, what Morocco did and what Belgium did and what Germany and so many other countries have done in terms of laying the foundation from the grassroots up, right? It's been done in England now too, right? It's not just when you become, you know, an adult soccer player or an adolescent soccer player, then we'll take some interest in you, but take the interest in you from, you know, your entry into the game,
Yes.
right? Set that platform so you have good facilities to play on, you have good coaches who are teaching you the game, you have good equipment to play with, and you have good competition to play against, right? With an aim to something. So to your
Yes.
point, if all of this investment is being made from this level, and this is where leadership comes in, and this is where Mr. Rudolph Speed might be much more beneficial to our country and our country's football, spending much more time in this era, not just in Jamaica, but with Jamaican kids outside of Jamaica,
Yes.
right? And building this platform, this portfolio, if you will, and focus on that and track that and intersperse these players as they become eligible and qualified enough into the various teams, right? The Olympics. We do so well at the Olympics in track and field and every other discipline. But in football, we do not put the focus and the emphasis on.
And that's a shame.
And that is where our main entry foray into world football should be focused on.
I agree.
Because as kids, we are great as kids because
Yes, I agree.
there's no professional structure set up. We don't have it anyways in Jamaica, right? But we have this great ability to play the game, right, on a let's call it amateur level. Put the focus there.
I
Put the
agree.
focus there. Get us into the Olympic. Be consistent in the Olympics the way we are with track and field and other sports, right? And then you'll start to see a shift.
I agree because, Khadijah is a great player, but I know there are more Khadijahs in Jamaica,
Oh
right?
yes.
I know there's probably a Khadijah at your brother's academy right now. There's probably some young men on your brother's team right now that could make it to the world stage. But it's like, how much can your brother do? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, without that financial support, because I know for a fact that he's probably putting some of his own money into, trying to help these kids. And because for the love of the game and for the love of the community and trying to help some of these players make it to the next level. And I just wish that there was more support for these people starting off and the encouragement, because I know a lot of parents would love for their kids to participate, but rent, mortgage, food, or you go play football. I mean, what's your take on that? Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When I had my academy in New Jersey, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
There are a few players who can afford to pay, and then they pay for everybody else, including your own money. And to your point, there actually is a Khadija Shah in my brother's academy. One of the girls in his academy is actually playing on the national team.
Okay.
Um, her name escapes me now, but they call her Macaroni. Um,
Okay.
and she actually plays on one of the national youth teams. There are kids like I when I was there for his 10th anniversary celebration back in January, I seen some of the kids play football. There was one kid there who was actually in the Arsenal summer camp the year before, Casey, I think his name was, who was absolutely brilliant. Right, my brother expects him to be playing in the national team if he continues at the current pace very soon. And this kid
Yes.
is a U14 kid. So there are these kids. We know that there are these
Right.
diamonds in the rough all the time, right? And it's difficult because the sponsorship dollars are very small and they're normally given out by the same people. Everybody competing for the same sponsorship dollars.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've been trying to do, my brother and I, is to find outside sources of funding. Like right now, we've linked up with this company called Football Tech that I just met by chance, and they support football, grassroots football in South America, mostly Colombia, Mexico,
Okay.
Venezuela, so forth and so on. And they've adopted my brother's academy in Jamaica, right?
Well,
Trying to teach kids financial literacy. They're working through Bitcoin. And one of the things that they do is they build out this platform where people could now go on and support, these grassroots football organizations like my brother's academy in Jamaica.
wonderful.
I'll send the link to you where you can
Please
look
do,
at
please do, and I will definitely share it on my wall because I've had your brother on a couple times, and I truly love his dedication. I've always admired your dedication to the game too. It's like the kids today, they need that, and I think that especially for girls. I wanted to play the game so badly, and back then girls didn't play. So I think it's just a beautiful thing. I'd like to see more Khadijas coming out of Jamaica because I know for a fact she's not the only one. But I have to say, I cannot say enough how proud I am of that young lady. I mean, what she's doing on the world stage. So now, Richie, I have to ask you this. Who will raise the cup? In your opinion, who will raise the cup?
If it had to do with just my saying so, Brazil would be raising the cup. you know, but yeah, they are my team. They are the team I'm looking forward to. But if I'm to be honest and look at the strength and depth of most of the teams that I've seen, I think France have a really very good chance as
Yes.
well of raising the cup. I know your England team. They do have a chance of raising the cup as well. It's going to be really difficult for England. Like I've watched the path they would have to cross. They would have to beat Brazil at some point
Yeah.
in time. And I'm not saying that they can't beat Brazil,
Right.
but
No, I get it.
the path is tough. But truth be told, I think France is probably one of the better teams out there in terms of
Okay.
quality in depth. But Brazil, 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 Brazil.
I
And I would
tell you.
love to see an African team surprise everybody and win it.
You know
Oh,
what? That would be amazing. I mean, and Wanga's been talking about the African players for a long time, right?
yes.
A lot of people are overlooking them, but I tell you what, that would be exciting. That would definitely be exciting. As much as I would love to see England play, but to see an African team win, I would love that too. I couldn't be upset about that. So I tell you, we have to set a date for you to come back. So when as we go into round two, we can discuss further about this World Cup. I have enjoyed this conversation so much. I'd like to ask you, do you have any closing thoughts?
Thank you, sis, and I really do look forward to coming back. As always, it's a pleasure for me to be here on with you, art to art with Bree. Um, and as we've been talking about Khadija Shah, and it's really good that we get to highlight her like that. And I do hope
Yes.
that people outside listening who have some ability to you know shine some light on her achievements in our homeland the way we're talking about it.
Yes.
Even though our brother Rudolph Speed, if he's listening or anybody close to him is listening, can whisper a word in his ear. But I also want to say the same thing for people like a Leon Bailey and Whisper and these other guys. Like because when we think about it, right? Like we have John Barnes who was born, and
Yeah.
went to school in Jamaica and
Yeah.
went on to play for England and did so well. Like Raheem Sterling, right? Like we have these kids, boys and girls, growing up most times in volatile communities, right, with such great abilities.
Yes.
And I think if we bring these people back to our people so that they could see that, look, this young man, this young woman was born and raised right here, just like you,
Yes.
or right up the street, just like you. And this is the heights that they've scaled through their skills, through their ability, through their dedication, through their hard work, through their practice, through their support of their community and parents and whomever, right? And this could be a similar path that you could trod if you so desire, right? I think it would help to paint a clearer picture for most of our
I
kids
agree.
growing up with that desire to play the sport at that level. I always say that we all have sight, but not a lot of us have the vision.
That's
And I would really like to see that we step into our purpose a little stronger, a little bit more purposeful, a little bit more assured, because we are able, we're capable. And we've seen that. We've seen that with our brother Answorth Allen. We've seen that with our brother Kingsley Chin. We've seen that with our brother Penny Nelson. We've seen that with our sisters. I mean, our queen sister Juliet, right? I mean, yourself,
yes.
Brie. Like, it's not an anomaly. And a lot of times we want to brush it off as, oh, that's just an anomaly. It's not. We are great as a people,
It's true.
and we need to step into that greatness, and we need to be brave and assured enough to step into that greatness, and we need to help each other accept, realize, and be assured in their greatness,
Yes.
because it serves us better when we all step to our potential than when we sit below it waiting for the sun to shine or the rain to fall.
Amen to that. I agree with that 100%. And I would just like to give a shout out to your brother, Coach Andrew, because I just admire his dedication to what he's doing. And it would be nice to see coaches such as your brother, getting help at that grassroots level. People were really trying to push the game forward and to move these young people forward. Let's not forget about where we came from, and let's reach out and help if we can. I mean, finances will go a long way, but it's also having the coaches with the skill, right? And the knowledge to really help a young person progress. So I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm looking forward to part 2. I am so excited about this World Cup. And oh my gosh, when we come back, I'll be wearing an England jersey. That's for sure.
Well, good luck to your England, my queen sister. And, I thank you so very much for having me. And I do look forward to coming back. I don't know that I'll be wearing an England jersey, but we'll see.
I'm pretty sure you'll probably be wearing the Brazil jersey, but I tell you what, this has been so much fun. Once again, thank you. I'd like to wish everyone a blessed week. For those who watch the replay, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And Richie will be back for the next round. Let the games begin.
Right.
Take care, everyone. Have a good night.